Hola a todos, muchísimas gracias por acompañarme. Para esta ocasión tengo el inmenso gusto y placer que está junto a mí Jane Nelsen acompañándome desde Estados Unidos. Hi Jane, how are you? How great to see you.
Hola Vanessa, muy bien. ¿Y usted?
Yo estoy muy bien y feliz de que esté junto a mí, Jane. Felicísima. Les cuento que Jane nos va a estar platicando un poquito acerca de los inicios de la disciplina positiva. And for those who don't know you, Jane, I'm going to read a brief biography of the many things you have been doing through all these years. I'm going to say it in Spanish. So, para quienes no conocen a Jane, le voy a leer brevemente de quién es Jane Nelsen. Les cuento que Jane es terapeuta matrimonial y familiar con licencia de California y autora y coautora de 16 libros de disciplina positiva, incluidas las herramientas para padres de disciplina positiva con su hija Mary y su hijo Brad, y numerosos manuales de capacitación experiencial para padres, maestros, parejas y empresas. Obtuvo su doctorado de la Universidad de San Francisco, pero su formación formal ha sido secundaria a su formación práctica como madre de 7 hijos, abuela de 22 nietos y 18 bisnietos. Ahora comparte esta riqueza de conocimiento y experiencia como oradora principal y líder de talleres en todo el mundo hablando sobre la disciplina positiva. Y tengo el privilegio que nos está acompañando hoy acá. So Jane, I'm going to start asking you questions. Are you ready?
Sí.
Okay, so can you please share with us what the early days of positive discipline were like?
Well, tengo 7 niños.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 7 children, 5 boys and 2 girls.
Mm-hmm.
But when I still just had 5 children, and I did not know how to discipline. So I would be very punitive, too firm. Mm-hmm. But I did not feel good. I did not like doing that. Mm-hmm. So then I would be permissive. I would be too kind to make up for it. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't like my children. So I was so lucky to find a class. I decided to go to the university and take a class on child development. Mm-hmm. And my professors said, we're not going to teach you a bunch of theories, but only one theory and how to apply it in practical ways that help children learn self-discipline and responsibility and cooperation and problem-solving skills. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was so grateful. So but it was not easy. I loved the concepts. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to talk a little bit more throughout this talk about why it's not easy. Because I did not understand at a deep level. Mm-hmm. And so I might not be kind and firm at the same time, or I would make a mistake, and then I would go back to the class and find out more to help me understand why what I did didn't work. And it's really difficult to make that paradigm shift. Like many of you may have heard people say, I was punished and I turned out fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's true. I was punished and I turned out fine. But I think we can do even better in the world today. So children who are pampered too much, they feel loved, but they don't learn the skills of how to solve problems and how to learn from mistakes. There are so many things they don't learn. On the other hand, if they're raised too strictly, they might learn how to solve problems, but they don't feel that belonging. And so having that balance so children feel both belonging and significance. And the positive discipline is based on the work of Alfred Adler, who taught that everybody, the main goal of everyone is to feel belonging and significance and to learn how to contribute in their society. So they need that belonging and significance. And they learn belonging through connection, but they learn significance through learning how to solve problems and how to contribute. And this is why at one point I said, forget mistakes are opportunities to learn. Because when we say, oh, you made a mistake, cool, that's good, what can we learn from it? And then we get kids involved in families. We have family meetings. And it's just so great to say, well, let's put this problem on the agenda. And people, they see it there, and then we brainstorm for solutions. And in classrooms, we have class meetings. We have class meetings where whenever there's a problem, they can go put it on the agenda, and then they learn to solve the problems. And so when people kept wanting to figure out what was the punishment for this behavior, and I would say, no, don't punish, focus on solutions. Or then they say, well, what are the consequences? But consequences were just trying to disguise punishment by calling it a consequence. So I know no more logical consequences, focus on solutions. And so now in positive discipline, I think one of our main themes is what's the problem? What's the solution? So in other discipline programs, they might say, what's the problem? What's the punishment? And so no, we focus on solutions, not punishment. And that teaches children to always be looking for solutions. So there are so many basic concepts. A little bit later, we'll talk about whether the positive discipline tools that we use, are they, one person said, well, I think these are just tricks to make children do what we want. And they are really could be used as tricks, but they're not effective. In fact, if you try a positive discipline tool and it hasn't worked, in most cases, it's because you tried to use it as a trick instead of as a tool based on the principles.
Jane, you know what? I really like when you talk about the paradigm, how difficult it is for us as parents to change the way we think, because it's like a journey you have to get into, and you're going to be changing little by little. So it's important for us as parents to also feel it's important to give us our time, because it's not easy. It's very different to the way we were raised as children. So I love it when you talk about this. And I wanted to ask you, what were the main challenges you had to face? Not only you using positive discipline as yourself with your family, but when you began helping other parents to understand what positive discipline was or is.
Well, I think it's very important to realize that this does not mean that your children will be perfect. See, sometimes we think, okay, if I use these tools, they will be perfect, or I will be perfect. But this is not about perfection. Life is not about perfection. And that's why I also love that mistakes are opportunities to learn. And so when we make a mistake, we need to learn to apologize to our kids, to say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. And then that teaches them, okay, I'm sorry. So that's very, very important, that you don't think everything's going to be magical. In fact, sometimes I don't like to admit this, but when I was teaching one of my first classes, I just got really upset, and I gave my little 2-year-old a swat on his bottom. And later, when I went to the class and I said, oh, I spanked my little 2-year-old, and they all went, oh. And then they went, oh. They were so relieved. And I said, it was so cute, because he said, you're not supposed to hit people. I said, I know, I'm so sorry. What can we do to solve this problem? And then he came and said, well, we could do a peace sign. So I think that's really important, is understanding that it does not mean perfection. but it also means always focusing on solutions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things that Riker said was the misbehaving child is a discouraged child.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we would just remember that, what is this child discouraged about, and that it does not have to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you dig deep enough, we will find that the discouragement has to do with their mistaken belief about how to find belonging or how to find significance.
Mm-hmm.
And they have, and so that looks like misbehavior. And you know, that's why I want to go to the mistaken goal chart right away, Vanessa,
Okay,
because
let's do it.
This is so new to people to, first of all, understand, okay, this misbehavior is based on discouragement. So when we show the mistaken goal chart, and it shows that the four main categories for discouragement is the child who wants undue attention. They believe I belong only if you're paying constant attention to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or they're misbehaving because they feel powerless. And they think the only way I can belong is if I'm the boss or if I don't let you boss me.
Mm-hmm.
Or they feel hurt. Sometimes, even if parents didn't mean to hurt them or teachers, we've said something and they feel I don't belong and that hurts. And so I'm going to hurt back.
Mm-hmm.
Or the last one is assumed inadequacy, where they believe I can't belong, I give up. Now, you don't treat all of those the same. So it's really important for us to learn to be sort of behavior detectives. And we start understanding, okay, now, what is the way that I encourage a child who wants undue attention? Because everybody needs attention. How do we do this in a way that is supportive and helps them learn to get attention in useful ways? Everybody wants power. So how do we help children have power in useful ways? You know, one of their themes is, let me help, give me choices. And, you know, we all get hurt sometimes. And so understanding and being able to validate their feelings, to me, this is just one of the most powerful things, is just to recognize that a child is feeling hurt and say, well, I can see you're really feeling hurt. I can understand that I would feel hurt too. Or the child, sometimes we all want to give up, you know, to learn how to show a small step instead of expecting so much that just some children need more help for a while. So we're always looking at what is the misbehavior about and how can we encourage. And parents need that too. You know, sometimes parents need to say, I made a mistake, or what can I do to solve this problem? I need your help. And that's what I just love when we have the family meetings, the class meetings, getting the kids involved in helping to solve the problems. So one of the things I love too is so many parents say, well, or teachers who've said, I started doing positive discipline so I could change my kids, but I found out that I had to make some changes first. So when I changed my understanding of misbehavior, and I was given lots of tools, because as you know, when we tell people no punishment, no rewards, no punitive timeout, no time, all these things that are punishment, and they say, well, what else? So this is why we always have a whole bunch of tool cards. They're all in Spanish too.
Yes, I have them.
That parents and teachers can find lots of tools that would be more effective, and then they teach kids to use the tools too.
You know something, Jane? I think it's important also to say that there are many tools, and sometimes one is going to work. The next time, maybe that one you choose before is not going to work, but you have other tools that are going to work. So it's up to us also to keep getting to know them so that we can use them in the way we think it's best for a relationship with our children, right?
Exactly. You know, one of the first activities I like to do in every class is, whether it's with parents or with teachers, you know, we make a list of all the challenges, because parents and teachers, they all have the same challenges. And as you know, positive discipline is now in over 80 countries. And no matter which country we go to, the lists look the same. They look exactly the same. Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, when we have them, okay, each one of you choose the challenge on this list that is the most challenging for you right now. And then we ask everybody we leave a tool card under their chair or something. Look at the tool you got and see if it would be fit for that challenge. Mm-hmm. And it seems like more than 50% of the time it works just fine. And then we say, now talk to your neighbor, who's somebody who's sitting next to you, and see if their tool would work even better for you. And sometimes the tools go together. Mm-hmm. But the point is that we're not telling people, don't do this, don't do that, don't do that, without saying, here are many things that you can do. And the one other thing I want to say about this is that when we teach experientially. Mm-hmm. And what that means is we do a lot of role playing. We do experiential activities. So you get in the role of the child or your own role of practicing the tools and learning the long-term results. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing. I'm going to digress for a minute to hear to say, yes, punishment works. Mm-hmm. It stops the behavior usually right now, but what are the long-term results? Mm-hmm. And we're more interested in not only what works now, but what works long-term. And so to always look at these tools and saying what works now and what also works long-term, and that it's not a secret. We teach the kids these tools too, so it's not this big conspiracy. It's this way of really showing that connection and the belonging and the significance of teaching kids the skills they need to do better in this world.
Mm-hmm. Jane, I want to ask you something. Do you, through all these years, sometimes felt this wasn't working? You know why I'm asking you this question? Because as a mother, sometimes you get tired. I mean, I get tired. I keep having discussions with my 4 daughters. I keep making mistakes. I keep arguing with them, and I know how to later amend and ask for forgiveness and use something so we can connect again. But it's hard. So that's why I'm asking you this question, because as you said before, we are not perfect. We are continuously learning how to make things differently and trying to make a better outcoming of ourselves and our children, right? So do you ever feel like, I want to give this away, this is not working? And if you did so, what made you not do it? Just keep on trying with this, using positive discipline.
I think, and that is so true. And this is why so many parents and teachers say, well, not only did I need to teach these tools to my children, but I needed to learn the skills myself. Mm-hmm. And as you know, one of our favorite is timeout, positive timeout. It used to annoy me so much to see kids punished with timeout. And adults will say really dumb things like, you go sit in that chair and think about what you did. This is so stupido because that child is not thinking about what he or she did. They're thinking about what you did. But so when, we even have children's books now. We have the children's book on teaching them about timeout can be a positive thing for parents, teachers, and children. That because we teach about the brain, Dan Siegel's model of the brain, and that when we flip our lid, we're not acting rationally, and so we need time to calm down until we feel better. So when we teach kids to create their positive timeout area, and then we can say, would it help you? Not you go, but would it help you to go to your positive timeout area? Or sometimes as adults, we might say, I am upset. I need to go take some time out till I can do better. So that goes back to, it's not about being perfect. It's not even about us being perfect. And it's about teaching our kids for the future. And they know how we focus on solutions. So first of all, they need to know that sometimes they're going to lose it and they can go take some time out. and they can choose it. They can create it. You know, when I go into positive discipline schools, every room has the positive timeout area that the kids have created themselves, and they can choose. But the other thing you will see in a positive discipline school is a wheel of choice. And the kids make these wheels of choice. You'll probably be able to find a picture of one, or if you want, I can send you several that you could show. But so the kids come up with all these ideas for what they could do when there's a problem. And then when they have these wheels of choice, they get to choose which one they think would be helpful. Or we also have an anger wheel of choice, you know, because we all get angry. We all flip our lids, you know. This is Dan Siegel saying, you know, that when this is the prefrontal cortex, and where rational thinking takes place. And when we flip our lids, our irrational amygdala shows up, or the fight. So kids love that. They can say, oh, I'm flipped my lid, I need some time out. And so they can have a anger wheel of choice. What can you do when you're angry? So always, and then of course there's the family meeting and the class meeting agenda. And I feel pretty passionately about that. I feel that if every classroom was having daily class meetings and every family was having weekly family meetings, that we would have peace in the world.
Yes.
Because they would be focusing on and really learning the skills of when there's a problem, what's the solution? What's the problem? What's the plan? And really teaching kids and everyone to focus on that.
Jane, you have already talked to us about different choices. Different cards, the wheel of choice, a positive timeout, family meetings. Which ones are your favorite? Do you have any favorite you like to use more?
Well, yeah, I have to say that family meetings, class meetings are my favorite. And one of the reasons is because during the family meeting or the class meeting, the kids are practicing all of the other tools. They're practicing focusing on solutions. First of all, they're thinking about what could be the solutions, because we always come up with a whole list. And then we have this thing of, okay, we have what we call the 3 R's and the H. And they look at all the solutions that they have brainstormed. And then they have to say, is it related? Is it respectful? Is it reasonable? And is it helpful? Does that translate into Spanish?
Yes.
The 3 R's and an H? Yes, okay. So we're, you know, just think how nice it would be if all our politicians had the 3 R's and an H. And if they would really focus on solutions that are respectful to everyone. And then the child gets to choose the one that would be the most helpful. Or if it involves the whole class, they might take a vote. But even when parents call me and they're having a problem, I say, are you having family meetings? Because I wish there could be a study done on this, because I'm almost positive that family problems would be reduced by at least 80% if they were having regular family meetings, because during the family meetings, they're practicing all of the tools that help children feel belonging and significant.
Okay, Jane, earlier you talked about the possibility of using the same tool as a tool or a trick. Can you please explain to us what's the difference between using the same tool as a trick or as a tool?
Well, this is based on the philosophy of Alfred Adler and Rudolf Dreikurs. It's based on a very sound psychological theory. And so if ever it's not working, it's usually because parents or teachers have not understood the basic philosophy. And I've made a list of several of them, and we'll just show them on the screen. Are you really addressing the need for belonging and significance in the way you've done this tool? And by the way, this is why one of my favorite tools is connection before correction. And sometimes just to validate a child's feelings before you go on to a tool that might be a correction, and understanding their need for the belonging and significance. Are we really thinking, is this child discouraged? What is the discouragement, rather than me just wanting to get them to obey? Now, we also talked about there is that understanding the belief behind the behavior. Have you as an adult really tried to understand what is the goal of this behavior? What is the discouragement? And then the connection before correction. Did you make the connection before you tried to make the correction? Did you use dignity and respect? Now, Alfred Adler and Rudolf Dreikers, this is one of the things they taught, that everyone, including children, deserve dignity and respect. And so often they'll look at, gee, I tried to use that tool and I was not doing respect. I was not, is it both kind and firm at the same time? Now, you can say, I love you very much, and the answer is no. You can say that with dignity and respect. That kind and firm also can be tricky because sometimes what we think is kind now may not be very kind for them in the long term. For example, if you spoil a child, they're going to feel loved, they're going to feel belonging, but they're also going to not be very good spouses. They're not going to be a good husband or wife or student. So, and as I said, really seeing mistakes as opportunities to learn instead of, oh my gosh, you're a terrible child, or just, oh, you made a mistake. What can we do to focus on solutions? And that's a huge one, focusing on solutions. Yeah. Did you do this to just make them obey or to make them feel bad? Or are you really focusing on solutions that work together? So self-regulation, and what that means is, did you calm down? If you expect your child to calm down, did you calm down first? And sometimes it might mean to say, I am so angry right now, I can't deal with this. I need to go take some time out. And then, or I'm going to put this on the family meeting or the class meeting agenda because I need help later. So, and that's one of the things I've got. Focusing on improvement, not perfection. And, here's the best. Modeling. Yeah. Are you modeling what you're trying to teach? And that is what we forget. It's so funny how we might be upset at a child for being disrespectful, and then we talk disrespectfully right back to them. So modeling the behavior that you want to see. And so I think, sometimes if people go through that checklist and say, well, am I really teaching them what I want them to learn? Or am I modeling something very different?
You know what? It's difficult. It's not easy because we're humans and we're not perfect. So, Jane, just to finish, if someone is a father, a mother, a parent, an educator is listening for the first time about positive discipline, what will you say to them? How will you encourage them?
For me, is yes, I wanted something that would be more effective with my child, but mostly I wanted to enjoy being a parent. And I have to say, I did not enjoy being a parent. When I was going back and forth between punishment and reward, it was not fun. And I have even heard teachers, one teacher said, I've been teaching for 25 years and kids have changed so much, I was ready to get out of teaching. But she says, now I love teaching again. I have heard that many, many times. And I think that that's one of the reasons so many people come and join with Positive Discipline, want to teach it, is because it changes their life so much that they want to help others. Yeah. I see a nod of recognition there.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, there are so many people. We've got these wonderful groups. Oh, and Vanessa, did you see the new video on the project that's coming up for the Positive Discipline? Youth empowerment?
No, I did not.
Oh, you haven't seen that video yet? Do you know what's happening at this school in Cairo? They're getting the kids involved to create a conference.
Oh, yes, I did. The one Esmond showed us. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Where it's going to be a whole year-long where they get the kids involved in sharing why they like positive discipline and how it has helped them, and sharing their success stories with family meetings and class meetings. And it's going to be done all by the kids, grades kindergarten through high school. And that's when I just think that's what I love. I remember being at one conference where they, for a class of school, and they had a teen panel. And so the kids read the book Positives for Teenagers, and they said, we wish our parents would read this, and we wish our teachers would read this, because it does hold them accountable. It's not wishy-washy permissive. Just because you don't use punishment does not mean you go to the other extreme, which could be even worse, of permissiveness. But the kids like it too. They feel respected, they learn skills. And so, this is why my daughter, who was raised with it, is now out teaching it. And she said it worked with her roommates when they're still friends as roommates, because they used the roommate meetings and things to learn to focus on solutions.
You know what? I think that's a beautiful thing about positive discipline. It can be used with our children, with our spouses, with our students, with everyone. And I just want to show Jane very fast the books, different books that have come out in Spanish, so that if people are not familiar with them, they can get to know them. So this is the first one, called Disciplina Positiva, que está en español. Then we have for the classroom, Disciplina Positiva para el salón de clases. We have Disciplina Positiva for preschoolers. I know there's another edition, right? For between preschoolers.
The first 3 years. There's one for the first 3 years.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you why. I also taught child development at a community college for 10 years. And there are some things, even the positive discipline tools, that are not appropriate for children, especially under the age of 4. Too many parents don't understand brain development. And when they're putting a 2-year-old in timeout and calling it the naughty chair, when the child is at that stage when they're developing autonomy versus doubt and shame, and you put them on a naughty chair, they're going to be developing doubt and shame, not autonomy. And so I just really needed to help people understand how important it is to know brain development and child development in those first 3 years and then the preschool years.
I think it's great. And I'm going to continue. This is a positive discipline for adolescents, Disciplina Positiva para Adolescentes. So then we have the cards. We have this beautiful one, this story about timeout, right? Positive timeout, which is beautiful.
Yes.
I'm going to put
how many of the tool cards have been translated into, so if you ever want a tool, how many of these are in Spanish?
Those ones, the basic ones, which I lent to someone, and I don't have them right here, and the ones from KJR, which is a program about keeping the joy in the relationship.
Right, and that's so interesting. Let's just talk about that for a minute. We came up with other books like for the workplace, because people say, oh, these tools work with employees. And so we did keeping that was empowering people in the workplace. And then what was really funny is when people said, oh, this works in my marriage. So we said, okay, let's do keeping the joy in relationships. And that's why even and having the tools and the same kinds of that help feel belonging and significance in our marriages. So we do keeping the joy in relationships.
Which is a beautiful program. Beautiful. I love it. So Jane, thank you so much for taking us with you on this ride through the years, from the early beginnings to what positive discipline has become now. So I just want to thank you for letting us into your world and for being so generous to share with so many parents and educators a different way to teach, to enjoy our families, to be a happy parent. Thank you so much, Jane. I'm sending you a lot of hugs, and I hope to see you soon.
Vanessa, it's always such a joy to work with you, and you might mention that you're on the Positive Discipline Association board, and because you just did so much in sharing positive discipline in your population and in your community. So anytime.
Thank you, Jane.
Adios. Bye.